Good night, everyone. Doing tonight, God is good, and God is good all the time. My name is Michelle Praise Divine. I'm going to give you a word on tonight, and the title gonna be wandering in the wilderness. God had them wandering in the wilderness for 40 years. So the story gonna come from Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse 1 through 23. Now the Israelite is getting close to their promised land. So their punishment was from God. Is for them wandering around in the wilderness for 40 years. From all that complaining. So God had got rid of the other generation, but this generation had to pay the penalty for their parents' sin. So God is leading them the long way, to the Red Sea. They had a short way, but God's taking them the long way. So they took the route that God had told them, and He are telling them, they're about to pass through the territory of their relative. It's Esau. Esau was staying in Syria. So God also telling them, so be afraid of them. So God telling them be afraid of them because so many powerful, large people and everything used to come against them, but they defeated them every time. So that's why God telling them, to be careful. For I will not give you any of their land. So God is telling them, be afraid of them, but at the same time be careful. Do not provoke them, to war. For I will, because see what it is. It's two nations. That's why they can't. This Esau family. Then you got Jacob family. And God don't want both of them to go to war. Unless they really have to, because then God would have to pick a size. Because he like Esau, cause he telling them do not provoke them to war, and if you do, you're not gonna be able to enter into that land. So just how much God is on their side. So he telling them don't provoke them. So I will not give you in any part of the land, not even enough to put your foot on. So I had given Esau. He said, "I given Esau this land. I get Esau this land that they about to cross over. So tell them you are going to pay." So God telling them, when you cross over, let them know. They said something. Let them know I'm gonna pay you for the food. I'm gonna pay you for the water. I will give you silver. I will give you silver. So God told him to tell them that, that you will give them some silver. Tell them you're going to pay for the silver, for the food, and eat, and the water. So now God is telling them the 40 years, you know, Moses telling them the 40 years that you was wandering in the wilderness, all the work of your hands, God had watched. Now Moses telling them, in other words, don't forget about God. In the 40 years that she was wandering around in that wilderness, remember every time you fight against the Ammonites or anybody you fought against, you defeat them because of God. So Moses saying the Lord your God had blessed you in all the work of your hands that you done. So God had been watching over them through their journey, through the wilderness. These 40 years, God been with them. And we know the whole time, they ain't lacking nothing. Every time, even though they complain, but every time they wanted food, anytime they wanted water, God provide for them. Had Moses, even that's why Moses came into the land, and he done hit the rock. He done hit the rock when God just told him to speak to the rock. So God always provided water for them. He always did provide food for them. Had that food coming down, and they was eating so much it was coming out their natural. So God provide for them in the 40 years in their wilderness. So God been with them the whole time. They lack nothing. God fed them. God provide water. So God said, the Moses said, when you pass through your relatives, Esau, you know, the Lord said, do not harass the Moabites or provoke them to war, for I will not give you any part of the land. Now God is serious. Don't go through that provoking them, because you got to still remember that's your relative. So God is telling them, He had given to the deceiver, a lot. Remember Lot, Abraham nephew. God gave him a part, a possession. And they lived there, and the people were strong, numerous, they was tall, but that didn't matter, because Esau family, defeat them all, defeat them all. That's why God had telling them, be afraid, because they defeat so many big people, large group of people, they defeated, so they destroyed. They destroyed the land before them and settled in the place of the land, just as Israel had did in the land of the Lord has given them as a possession. Before they cross, God is letting them know to be careful. That's the first thing He told them. Your relative Esau, he destroyed Canaanites and took their possession and settled in it. That's how he got in there. So the importance of traveling. Moses was letting them know the importance of traveling. You've been on your journey. It's been a long journey, because sometimes when we, talking to myself, sometimes when we complain, God added on and on and on. And that's what He did with the Israelites. So Moses reminded the Israelites, where they come from. See, sometimes once you got out of your stone, your slavery, being in bondage, once you be released, don't never forget what you come from. But we know the Israelite always was thinking about the Egypt, but you don't think about Egypt. You think about how God got you out from slavery, how God fed you, give you water, So that's what Moses tell him. Don't forget about God, what all God had done for you. So Moses reminded Israelites of where they come from, of what they've been through, because they've been through a whole lot. So he revealed the geography of their 40 years, walk, boldly through the territory, of the Ammonites, Moabites, Ammonites, so just traveling, every time they had to go through different deserts, different through wilderness, God will let them know, be careful, we about to cross this one, they always had to go across the Ammonites or somebody, but God will let them know, because God already go ahead of us, so He already been to search things out. So the importance, the traveling of the importance, because it illustrates that they initiated reach the entrance to Canaan. Finally. Then walk there, 38 years now. Still got 2 more years, but then it got to that point. Even Moses, climb on up there, but you can see it. They're just how close they are to it. Only 11 days after leaving Mount Sinai. But because of the flattering, to complain, faith, that they wandered for 40 years in a land outside of the promised land. So Moses reminded them, and instruct them. People do forget. So Moses had to remind them, do not forget about God. So Moses had to learn in the desert. He done grown a lot, because he came into the promised land, or wondering, because see, he wandered the 40 years along with them, so he wandered with them, he said his faith in the ground and strengthened, so he learned a whole lot, so when we remember where we've been, we are learn from our mistake, that we are to move ahead with wisdom and faith. So a long time, a lot of time, when you're in your storm, a lot of times you grow. I know I'm grown. I might cry sometime. I might just do a little, complain or whatever. But in the mix of it, I done grown a whole lot in the storm. That's what Moses said. He done grown in the storm, especially the 40 years wandering around in the wilderness along with the Israelites. The mistakes that he made with God. Now he acknowledging now, that he know he was supposed to give God honor, and give him praise on his power. He know he took the credit for it. So he learned a whole lot. So that's why he telling them, don't forget God. Don't forget all the wonders that he done for you. So God said, get up, cross the valley. 30, y'all, they at 38 years. 38 years. I mean, they got 2 more years, to pass from the time they had left Gushan until they crossed the valley. So their entire generation of fighting had perished from the camp. Because, God got rid of a whole lot of the Israelites. He got rid of that generation. So this is a whole nother generation. This their kids. So as the Lord has sworn to them, the Lord's hand was against them until he had completely eliminated them from the camp. So God had eliminated, their parents. So now just the fourth. Remember, God said the third and the fourth generation gonna cross over. So now we at the fourth generation. God eliminated all their parents. So when the last of these fighting men among the people had died, so once they all had died, the Lord said today, you are to pass by the region of Moab. So God was waiting for all of them to die, for them, the new generation to cross over. So now the Ammonites is the relatives of Esau. So God said, when you pass through, do not harass them, do not provoke them, a war, for I will not give you any possession of this land that belongs to the Ammonites. Because they got to take everybody out to possess their land. So God had given it as a possession to Lot. That's Abraham nephew. So God saying he destroyed them so they can take possession and settle in that place. But they are close to the land, and Moses is telling them not to forget about God. God did what God did in the 40 years y'all wandering in the wilderness. Your shoes didn't wear out. God had blessed them. Bless all the hand, all the work that they had to, like every time, they had to fight someone, they defeated. So they lacked nothing. God fed them. God provided water for them. When they was in war, God had, they were able to defeat any war they was in. They were able to win. So we see they getting close to their promised land. They don't wander around at least 38 years now. So they got 2 more years to go. That close that they can see their land. So, and they can see the land. And God excuse me. And God gonna allow Moses to climb up there to see the land, because that's all he gonna be able to do, because he's not gonna be able to enter the land. And so we seeing that God still have a tough spot for Esau family. So he letting them know, you about to cross over your relative, territory. So don't provoke them to war, or you will not, enter this promised land. So God is serious on that. So now we're gonna talk about Moses forbidden to cross the land. He gonna keep on asking God, let me go see that good fine land with this milk and honey and stuff. Trying to juice God up, trying to do it in a little perspective way. But he know God already told him he not entering, but he thought God forgot, and he can juice him up. So God commanded Joshua, that he seen with his own eyes. Because Joshua with them. He saw a lot of miracles and power that God did. So all that what he done to these two kings, God told Joshua, the Lord, would do the same to you, to kingdom or where they going. You know, uh, so God is covering Joshua, covering Joshua, do not be afraid of them. The Lord your God himself will fight for you. So God is telling him, God told Joshua the Lord would do the same to all the kingdom, you know, over there where you is gone. So God telling him where you is gone, I'm gonna fight for you. So don't be afraid. Don't be discouraged. So Moses had pleaded with the Lord that you had begun to show to your servant your greatness, and your strong hand. Most already know he saw God greatness. He saw God glory in everything. So God is there in heaven, on earth. Who can do the deeds? And who can do the deeds that mighty God can do? No one. So Moses is asking, let him go. So he gonna say the flattering words, trying to juice God up, and then after he gonna put that little sling in, Moses gonna ask him, let me go over there, and see that land. Let me go over there and see that land, beyond the Jordan. Let me go see that fine land. He just talking all in flatter, trying to flatter God. Let me go see that good land. So now Moses wants to see the promised land. But God forbid Moses from crossing that Jordan. So God telling him, you cannot see this land. You already know that, Moses. So now the law got angry because Moses kept on asking him over and over. So with him and will not listen. So the law said, do not speak to God. God hadn't got so angry. God said, don't speak to me no more. Because Moses must have kept on asking him about 100 times. So you done made God mad. God said, don't ask me no more. Don't speak to me. So the Lord said, do not speak to him anymore about this matter. So I thank God love Moses, and we know that it's sad that Moses can't enter the promised land. So Moses is feeling it right now. So now God is already had told Moses, you cannot enter the promised land. But with the Israelites, so God don't want him, to ask about the land. He must have been kept on asking multiple times. So now God said, go up. So God, he must have kept on asking God about the land. Let me go up there and see that land. So God said, you know what? Go up to that top mountain, and you look to the west, you look to the north, you look to the west and the south, and you look forward and watch you see that land. So Moses look at the land with his own eyes. Since you're not going to cross to that land, when you climb on top of that mountain, you can see the land. You can see all what you want to see. To just don't ask me about this matter no more. So God, but God gonna tell Moses, commission Joshua, and encourage and strength, for he will lead these people to across this Jordan so they can enter into the promised land. So one, Moses asked, could he go and see the land? But God forbid him to go see the land. He must have asked multiple times. Well, God got angry and said, don't speak to me no more about this matter. So God said no. He forbid him from going to see the land. God got angry, told him don't speak to him no more. So two, God said go to the top of the hill. Now since he keep on asking to go to the land. God forbid him from going to the land, but God said, okay, go on the top of this mountain. You can see all you can see. So God had told him to go on top of the mountain to see the land that you're not going to enter. 3, commission Joshua, to lead these people to their promised land. Encourage him, give him strength, so God is telling him, you do all these things for Joshua. So 4, encourage Joshua and strengthen him to lead these people to their promised land. So now we see God forbidding Moses to see the land, but he allowed him to climb on that top mountain and see the land. So we talked about they're wandering around in the wilderness for 40 years. They're getting that close to their land. So Moses is reminding them, giving them a little preview. Don't forget about God. The time y'all was in there wandering around in that wilderness, God was right there with you. So he said, remember, your shoes didn't wear out, your clothes didn't get wear out. Every time you wanted to eat, God provide food for y'all. He provide water for y'all. So Moses telling them, don't forget about God. So that's and we just talk about how God forbidden him. He kept on begging to go to the land. So God said, okay, you go on top of the mountain where you can see the land that you will not enter. So I also have a little update on the news. One was dead and a suspect in custody after a stabbing in a D.C. library. So the police said, that one person was killed in a stabbing at Forward Library. So the attack unfolded inside the Forward Library in Kansas. Just before 7 p.m. So the victim was inside the library when the attacker had walked up and stabbed him in the neck, killing him. The person is now in custody. So the officer do believe that this was a target attack. So they said the attacker and the victim, they knew one another. So they also believe that there was homeless, and now the investigating, they're looking into it now. So people inside the library interfered and took the knife. And they was bold. They took the knife from the attacker. And after watching the video, they interfered. They stopped this individual from this homeless on someone else, and they held him until the police came. Now that was bold. First they took the knife from him, and then they held him until the police came. So the police took the man into custody, and when they arrived, the victim was pronounced dead. So we see you're not safe in the library, the school, the church, and if they ain't shooting, now they stabbing. So I'm for the one who lost. I'm sorry for the one who lost their life. So we still gonna be trying to first you're trying to get the guns off the street. So we can't get the knives off the street. So and it's got to keep on praying and keep on trying to fix ways to slack up this crime. It's not gonna be easy, but it gonna be hard, but eventually the everyone should be starting to come on the same page. So the library is supposed to be where you have quietness while you read. So we got we got to try to make it safe for the library. The school, we still trying to make it safe for the student at school. You know. So that's all I have for you today. There was an update. A person has walked up to someone and stabbed him in the neck, and they had pronounced dead. But then they said the person knew him, so they still investigate because I heard nothing else from him. So we talked about the word. Moses was forbidden from crossing the Jordan to go see the promised land because God allowed him to go on top of the mountain. So they was wandering around for 40 years, and then at the 38th year, years and they that close to their promised land. So that's all the word and news I have for you on today. Y'all have a blessed night and I see you on the next video.